Thanks a lot. Also, thank you for the audience joining us. I would like to invite our panelists to the podium as well.
I'm the last.
We are
in this.
Hello.
Can I?
Free sitting.
Free sitting.
10 euro each seat, so let's.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Our panel discussion today will focus on the air freight and the air cargo transportation, but in Central and Eastern Europe. We know that several things happened in the last 2 years globally, especially because of the COVID-19 crisis, but because of other external factors as well. And today we would like to discuss this a bit. What was the consequence? What are the points and the effects for our region, Central and Eastern Europe? So let me welcome our panelists on the stage, and okay? Cool. So, okay. Not a good one? Good one. So, Mr. Kornél Heckenast, Group Commercial Director of Airbag Group, Mr. Sergiu Sarasan, Manager Aviation Solutions, IATA, and Mr. Michal Grochowski, Cargo Director, Lot Cargo. I'm József, Kossuth, Head of Cargo, Budapest Airport. I would like to ask the panelists to introduce themselves shortly. Kornél, maybe you can start from the left.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kornél Heckenast. I'm the Commercial Director of Airbag Group. Airbag Group is a GSSA company acting in Central Eastern Europe, all around in 14 countries, covering from Poland all the way through Central Eastern Europe, so Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, of course. We are headquartered in Hungary. We just celebrated our 20 years anniversary this September, so it's really a milestone for us. So all the way from Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and all the Southeast Europe, Balkans area we are presented. We are very proud that we are the one and only company who coming of such kind of GSSA company, who are coming from the region, originating from the region, and we are strong enough to develop our network, our geographical coverage of Central Eastern Europe, and we are in the league of global players. I'm sure you all know our competitors, so we are very proud. And let me share also with you that just by 1st of October, we gained the representation of Qatar Airways Cargo in 8 countries. So we are very proud of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kornél, for the introduction. Sergiu, would you introduce myself shortly?
Thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to be here in this event. I'm very happy to see that we have a regional event of this size under the current circumstances, and I'm really delighted to contribute to it. So thank you to the organizers, and congrats for this. About myself, I guess I need to introduce myself. I'm working for IATA in Central Eastern Europe. We take care of 15 countries in the region, and I'm in charge of the cargo agenda, among others. IATA is the association representing airlines, so we have around 300 members globally, including Lot here. This represents about 80% of the global traffic. We are a truly global association of airlines meant to work for delivering a more efficient and standardized air cargo industry.
Thank you, Sergiu. Michal?
Hello, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Michal Grochowski, proudly represent a Lot Polish Airlines as a head of cargo. With our mission and vision of the business, consistently working on the leader position in Central Eastern Europe. Currently number 5 in the region, but as soon number 1 for sure.
Thank you. I like your very strong messages, Michal. I love it. That's a nice mixture of the panelists, because Poland represents an airline. Michal represents an airline from Poland, and he represents an airline. Sergiu is from Romania, and he's working for one of the largest, and maybe the largest aviation association of the world. And Kornél is from Hungary together with me, and he represents a GSA, and I represent an airport. So that's a quite nice mixture of the different stakeholders from the market. Sergiu, would you help us with some general outlook from IATA side? How the last 1.5 year, 2 years look like in the air cargo transportation, and how you feel, which were the relations of the changes of the global situation with Central Eastern Europe in the last 1.5, 2 years?
Sure, absolutely. By the way, numbers are there. You've had this very nice panel yesterday, also discussing the situation and the numbers. We can go over them again if needed. However, I feel it's not only about the numbers. So numbers are there. Anyone can see them. Numbers, I would say, in 2 words, they are great for air cargo. I mean, this year we've already surpassed the crisis, if there was any crisis in air cargo, because I don't think it was, apart from the capacity itself. And but behind the numbers, where we see the positive trend, behind the numbers, there's something much more important which I would like to touch upon, and that's what the effects of the pandemic produced to all of us, to our industry. And first of all, I think what it did, it challenged the status quo that we used to live in. So it forced us to find quick solutions and to adapt rapidly to a real crisis. And from that, we derived some new mindset, I would say. So this mindset will go along probably with working more digital, working in other ways, and try to be more efficient and more flexible in general. On another note, IATA was preaching for the value of aviation and value of air cargo for quite some years now, saying how much and how important air cargo is for the economies, for global trade, for a country's development, and so on. It's just as well as we always preached for the last years for digitalization, for instance. And I'm sorry to say, but it's been so many words and so many, discussions, and nothing, tangible seemed to happen. And maybe it's not the right way to say, but this pandemic has produced perhaps the necessary mind step to take all these discussions to the next level, where we do something about it, right? Mm-hmm. So there you go. There's a graph on the screen speaking about Central Eastern Europe. Everybody understands something different about Central Eastern Europe, so I just wanted to make sure that's represented on the map.
If you put any map, there, you will hurt somebody. So that's the
exactly. So the trend here is not as positive as for the whole world, and we've got some explanations for that. It is picking up, but obviously it varies from location to location, and the overall reason for not picking up so fast as the rest of the world is that probably in Central Eastern Europe we were much more dependent on belly capacity in most of the locations, and that's probably one aspect to it. Because on the other hand, what we do benefit here from is it was a window of opportunity for many locations. We've got a few examples right here on the panel. Budapest with quite an extraordinary development. Polish Airlines, another good example of benefiting from this entire thing. So what I would like to say is that the ones who seem to have benefited from this are, I'm speaking about airlines obviously, are the airlines who have a cargo mindset. As you well know, the airlines are powerfully driven by the passenger aspect of the business. And only very few of them have a real cargo mindset in that sense. And I think these were the lucky winners, if I may call them so. Mm-hmm. And also, Central Eastern Europe tends to have smaller players who have perhaps a larger flexibility in adapting, in changing and embracing the necessary to face such crises. So there you go. One other thing I want to touch here, and then I will obviously give it to you.
You don't
as
need
well.
to leave, just you can stay.
Yeah, sure. Is about the capacity. I listened very carefully to the discussion yesterday about capacity and different views on that. So, as you've seen from the first slide, capacity in air cargo is just 12% below 2019. It's not a tragedy, it's quite good, isn't it? And that's because airlines have reacted quickly, and they have put in the so-called freighters, the passenger aircraft where you can load cargo onto the passenger cabin, even on the seats, right? So they've been fast adapting. So the situation is not that bad now. If it's reversible, if this capacity is going to go back to the passengers, we are there to see. It's not yet clear how fast this reverse trend is, and if it will happen in the near future. We used to have a problem in capacity before that, I don't think it's necessarily a big issue there. One last thing, if I may. Again, from yesterday, I don't want to monopolize the discussion, is on the pricing side. There were lots of discussion about ditching the block space agreements, increased rates. What I want to point out is about partnerships, because all this is an effect of the strength of partnerships. If you develop real partnerships in the industry, then you won't have these crises or these moments when somebody is trying to pass the cost on somebody else. My feeling is that the increase in air cargo prices is strictly an economic reaction on capacity demand, and that's it. But beyond that, there's obviously an intangible component of the strength of the partnership there. Mm-hmm. Because let's not forget, the airlines, in this whole supply chain, the airlines are the least profit-making organizations, right? So all the others are being subsidized in a way by the airlines. There was a study in 2019 made by IATA, and on the passenger side, saying that the airline is earning as little as $6 per passenger. Now, you may say, okay, but the airlines have a lot of passengers, right, and the revenue add up. There's an huge infrastructure cost there. Fuel costs and so on that the airline needs to bear. So at the end of the day, they are the least profitable organizations in the supply chain, and that's a reality for air cargo as well. Now, putting this in the context of the pandemic, that's why I'm talking about partnership. Whether this situation looked totally differently before the pandemic and the airline was not the least profit-making organization, we could have had another situation where costs were not transferred so fast from the lack of capacity to the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergiu. So basically, what happened globally related to the traffic and the air cargo demand, there was a big drop last year, minus 30-40% in the spring, and globally it returned to the pre-COVID level. And you said here that the Central Eastern European region is lagging behind with the volumes.
Correct.
Michal, you will talk a bit later about the strategy from Lot Cargo, but how you fared the last 1.5 years, that Did you have the same experience with traffic development, or you are going ahead this trend and you are growing fast and steadily?
As you know, absolutely I agree with Sergio and with you that the global trends are visible, there's nothing to discuss. What we could hear, what we could do and what we did here in this region is as a kind of the solid strategy, solid core didn't change. We have our agenda, we have the solid strategy that we want to continue. Of course, the overall shape sometimes would be polished a little bit, but general strategy is pending. What we did, we tasted in a very, very small period of time. We tasted everything, every kind of activity that the airline can do in a very safe environment in case of money, in case of economy. So we did individual charters, block charters for some freight forwarders. We did the e-commerce beyond Poland, e-commerce in the passenger planes. We did this special personal protective equipment for some governments, including the Hungarian, Slovakian, Lithuanian, Romanian not unfortunately. But we did a lot of that. We built up the strategy based on the block space agreement with Continue after this pandemic time, the top of pandemic time, with the largest freight forwarders and grab a lot of freight with naturally balance to the Western Europe, to main hubs like Amsterdam and Frankfurt. And at the moment, we still have much more volume that we can pick up. But this is very important to understand. We discussed a lot of today and yesterday, but to our audience, I'd like to say that a lot of in this industry, a lot of people are trying to build up maps or drawing circles of activities of the region or a potential of the region. So you know that we do that same in Poland usually, but what I recognize last time with the airline industry, I don't want to do that anymore, because as an airline and also as a region, we shouldn't be focused only on the countries drawing in a map like this. Okay, it's fine, and this is kind of benchmark and a reference for sure. But what would be interesting today, my pipeline with 100% effectiveness could be doubled, very easy, of the freight with the transshipment from Asia to the North America and both, of course, with using local infrastructure. This is very fascinating time, and this is a kind of homework, the effect of our homework which we did, as I said, in a very, very friendly environment without economy risk. So I think that our region right now is full of ideas. A lot of barriers passed away. When I observe the Western Europe, they stay in the same shape like before. We explored everything in less than 1 year. Absolutely everything. Like they even couldn't, let's say, imagine. The figures, numbers. Yesterday we closed September results. Historically top score. With the volume, with the sales revenue, with the effectiveness of gross profit, best of the best. Good. And we can risk at that time much more than in the past. To answer your questions, if we noted the growing volume, we are passenger airlines. So whatever was in the air, plus of course that we can pick up from the ground, was absolutely full of cargo. I, together with my team, we're just crying that didn't have the space enough to do that. But again, we have our own agenda. There are my slides later on with bringing back cargo which are normally leaking and migrating to the Western Europe, to bring it back to here, and also to make the freight forwarding time and freight forwarding, let's say, environmental society to be maybe not independent, but to have the power enough to create something, because usually the world like this is very dependable of headquarters, of the general concept, the regional concept, or the global one. Airlines like us presented the behavior that absolutely any, even crazy idea could be realized. I don't think that we missed anything. We taste every single taste which is available on the planet Earth.
Thank you, Michal. It sounds very, very good. As Sergiu pointed out, so this new situation when mostly was the income of the COVID-19 crisis, not alone, but maybe accelerated, also opened new opportunities and brought new ideas to the market. And as Michal said, that the quick reaction time and flexibility is now key to be successful. And you can grab ideas. As head of Budapest Airport, I can say that we are recently on the winner side of this restructuring on the market. So I can show only positive numbers. Our actual cargo traffic is basically, our September numbers are even better than the end of August status. I just listed this today similarly to Michal, and we just discussed that how great we are. And now I'm just joking. We work hard. We are working hard on the cargo developments at our airports. Recently, 40%. Our cargo traffic is 40% more than last year, and 35% more than 2019. So the best pre-COVID year. We are reaching by the end of this year approximately 180,000 tons cargo, with a very speed growth rate, which came at the right time, at a very good time, that we handed over a brand new cargo center at the airport. That was a 50 million euro investment, 36,000 square meter new handling facilities, freight forwarders in the building, and also a brand new cargo apron, which is more or less full at the moment, and we have to expand this further. So that's really growing and developing. And it is not because of Hungary. Hungary is a country in this approximately 20 countries catchment zone around our airport, and which has a great potential. As we feel all, that's one of the reasons why we are sitting on the stage now. And not only because we are living in Central Eastern Europe, but we believe very strongly that the air cargo has much more potential and development opportunity in our region. What we have seen, and also Sergiu and Michal explained this a bit, that it brought new opportunities. So the problems in the other transport modes, booming of several sectors like the e-commerce, the new transport ways and solutions which prefer more and more the air freight versus other transport modes, gives an appropriate and gives an excellent environment if you want to develop now something in air freight, which is not easy, because you need to, on the other hand, you need to react with capacities, you need to react with new buildings, manpower, you have to build up your own system, you have to expand it. We can never know, maybe LOT Cargo will buy freighters in 2 years, so that's anything can happen as I know Michal. So basically, on one side, there are new potentials in this pre-COVID era, maybe, or after COVID era. Maybe that's not an after COVID era, we are still in this era, but it also brings significant challenges for the aviation. And Michal, passenger freighters are also one of your typical and very favorable and new and attractive product on the market. Could you tell some words about this, please?
Yes, but I start with this slide, which is showing because let's say the panel topic is the current situation in Central Eastern Europe, and I think that later on Kornél also will add something to this. It is, what is the situation? Because we're talking a lot about numbers, figures, if the market is growing or not, but the common understanding of our region, Central Eastern Europe, in a public, let's say, maybe not this audience, but in a public, is a very wrong understanding the potential, and the two words, potential or actual. As we know that the market of the Central Eastern Europe is full of volume, full of freight, and what we do as an airline, for example, we just eat from the table which is hidden. all the time, because nobody can explain that, for example, in 2019, before COVID era, in a ton of kilometers, lot cargo growth more than 46%. My economic growth like this? No way. Central Eastern Europe? No way. We grow. How it's happened? Is a miracle? No. We just know the market. And the slide behind me is presenting the current setup of Central Eastern Europe general view, how it works exactly. And we have three basic situations. Online operations means on board of the planes. Second option is also very easy to recognize and also pick up by IATA numbers and figures, of course, because depends on the airway bills issued or directed to the region and operated by road feeder service, trucks which are operating between the airports. And the third one is the most hidden by the public, very difficult to recognize. Many people are wrongly name it also like a RFS, me not. It is a land transportation organized by the freight forwarders, dominating ones, and moving under the CMR. So this is not absolutely not recognized by any airway bills. To hubs like Frankfurt and Amsterdam, then master airway bill contained all this freight which came, becoming to be air freight. Then the full statistics of our region are wrong. And the statistics of Frankfurt and Amsterdam is showing that their economy is much more bigger than it is exactly. And I just would like to explain by this occasion how it exactly works. And it's not meaning that, for example, in Poland we have just, I don't know, small than 1% of the capacity on the air freight market. No, immediately we have a 5 to 10% of the total European continent potential. But it is not potential, the freight is there. And what is the new, as I trying to explain what we as an airline do in these difficult times. In a very short period of time, 1 year, we tested absolutely any kind of the freight that we can do. Today, at the lanes, based on an example of Poland behind me, showing the Poland only. But this is same in every country in our region, absolutely same. Trucks are moving to the main hubs and they are facing with capacity both in big blocks with airlines dominating in Frankfurt and Amsterdam mostly. And our plan, our mission and our vision is to grab and offer full capacity for the region like Central Eastern Europe. Today, from the more 1 year, we collect the freight palletized in Amsterdam, Brussels, Frankfurt and Vienna, and we bring it here. What it means? The COVID-19 and the actual situation is giving us as a community, because on this stage we are friends together, is giving us absolutely brilliant chance to move this river direction a little bit to us and established offer for our economies of our country with a direct access to the global markets. Much better than in the past. I think that if not COVID-19, the goals as we achieved would take even 10 years. So probably we cut 9 years of our development because of COVID-19. And it looks that it works. And so my last words about this one is, I would like to have on the tender management of the great and the biggest freight forwarders on the planet, mostly located in Frankfurt, Warsaw or Budapest, as a hub that they calculated offer to the global supply chain, which is a part of some activities here. Can you switch to the next slide, please?
So just a question to
Yes?
this slide. So it means that you are not only keeping or attracting the cargo from Poland and Czech and to your flights,
Yes.
But you are also catching cargo from Western Europe to your flights from Poland?
Exactly.
Oh, that's okay. That's
Exactly,
a new,
because
new trend. This is against the general flow, or
yes, it's behind
at least
it.
the historical patterns or something.
Yes.
Like that, huh?
It's, what is interesting, of course, a lot of pallets that or ULDs that we collected from them contains cargo from our region. So somebody moved them to Amsterdam, for example, before us. Then we collect them again. You know, it's on the previous panel.
They bring back?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Because this is, let's say, the solid work of the freight forwarders here. They don't
yeah.
have they don't have, let's say, independency. And you know, so before I was here on this stage and discussed about the CO2 and the green environment. What is this? It is what is how it is related to the green?
From environment
Nothing.
point of view, it is nonsense. Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Yes, but you know, behind it, of course, there is a mission. I would like really put the offer of Lot Cargo and offer of our region to the big freight forwarders to see us not as a feeder only, but to see us, our region and our countries, as organizations who are smart, who know how to do something, and to offer them solutions which will be pickable here, because else, for me, as an airline with ambition to be number one in the region, I cannot be the number one with in the region to offer just capacity. Behind it, I would like to be recognized as a global preferred carrier with hubs here. I promise to do everything, absolutely everything, so far so good, to put Warsaw and Budapest solidly on a map as a hub for all these big freight forwarders. Coming to this slide, is it fine? Coming to this slide, this is, ladies and gentlemen, that would be interesting maybe for you. It's how airlines in the Central Eastern Europe, the smart airlines, let's say, are using, how they're utilizing the fleet which was grounded or is grounded, some still are grounded. This is an example of using our Dreamliner B787 as a freighter. This is a new solution on the market. We executed around 150 flights like this with this personal protective equipment. But you know that we just didn't forget. We did, and it's okay, it's fine. No, we got all these solutions into the commercial flights. For e-commerce, not only, but e-commerce is a target for us. Behind me you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the packages on the seats, which is not just easy to put net and the carton and that's it. No, that is a big procedures behind it. There is permission from the producer, from Boeing. There is acceptance of the plan and the procedure by EASA and the local authorities, aviation authorities. There is changes also in some plane infrastructure. For example, to fly like this, we have to cut absolutely oxygen on the board because it is not allowed. Any fire with the oxygen on board would be like an explosion. So everything must be cut. There is also rollers. This is a very nice example of the optimization. It's because you can imagine that the plane with 250 seats is very difficult to be load and offload with packages like this. As normally the people must handle it in the hands and moving by the plane like a passengers. Difficult, long time, and it is time consuming. So with these rollers, that's somebody is pushing just the packages, we cut the offload and the load time from 5 hours up to less than 2 hours. We would like to continue this one for our airlines, which has a, let's say, the lack of experience with the freighters. We do freighters operations every month, but on the Acme service, yes, so we rent the planes from others. It is a great time to get the lesson, how to move with that, how to play with the new opportunities, how smart the guys here and my team, part of that is on the in this room, how they are smart, how they think. I think that the people in this region, Central Eastern Europe, are smart enough to recognize any chance to boost the capacity and boost the business, and also go for something very new. Today, you know that's our score, top score, to load the freight like this is a 56 tons on a both legs in a passenger flight. 56 tons is bigger than the maximum payload normally designed for the 767-300 freighter. You can imagine that it's a miracle. I'm very proud on that we speed up because we can have very soon the freighters in the fleet or just be very effective as a cargo community inside of our company. In our company, which employs around 4,000 people today, the cargo people are only 55. And the 30% almost of the sales revenue is coming from us. Nobody would punish us if we say, okay, there is a few people, we don't need to, I don't know, had the sleepless nights or something. But we do that because the mission behind that is we want to bring back the cargo here. In case of the discussion that we had several today and yesterday, it's there's a question, who can do that? I think that as a local, one of the national carriers located here, but from the national carriers, only one and the large one who do the cargo business, I think that it's naturally our mission as a lot cargo.
Yeah.
We use the situation. We use this is okay. The booster is coming from these conditions that is generated by COVID-19, but we don't need to do that. But we really want. Also, for the greatness of your country economy, and your country economy, and your countries. It is something behind.
Yep.
I know that I'm talking like a politics, but I understand how the business works, not politics.
Yes. Thank you, Michal. That's, again, quick reaction time, flexibility, and effort. Because you say that it is easy to say something and easy to, obviously, dream about something, but you have to execute. You have to modify the plane, modify the regulations, modify the protocols, train the people, cooperate with the handlers. That's a different operation. It is not an easy thing. May I ask that do you have special goods which are transported now with this solution? Because you said that e-commerce is in the focus and it will be in the future, but...
That's a very good question, exactly, because normally this is still passenger plane. With limitations. This, for example, is not corresponding with the CAO, cargo aircraft only. It is not cargo aircraft only operations. Absolutely no. So dangerous goods cannot be loaded on the main deck. So the procedure behind it, which we work in the past very, very hard, is excluding. Mostly of the cartons, they contain general goods. General goods and sometimes, especially from Mumbai, is pharmaceuticals in a passive system. We still can chill the cabin for the passengers to very low temperature. It's not maybe the 2 to 8, but it could be really cold to survive everything inside. Just by the way, because the Sergiu is a big fan of the CEE Pharma, and thank you very much that you convinced us in the past to do that. Our flights, for example, from Mumbai up to Warsaw, mainly to Poland, of course, but not only, mainly to Poland. 100% of the freight is pharma. Active system is going under the floor, passive system above.
Yeah. We will talk later about the potentials in the pharmaceutical, and we have nice cooperation points like CEIV, so yes. We will touch this issue. Thank you, Michal. Thank you, very kind. Kornél, we reach you.
To the first slide. May I ask you to go back to the first slide, please, József?
Okay.
Very first one. The very first one.
Very first one.
The very first. The graph, which Sergiu had the graph.
Okay.
You're commenting on my graph then.
You challenge me a bit. So
yes,
okay,
always. Even one before, the very first one.
Yeah.
Yes, this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I like to analyze graphics, but with a proper approach. It's very important to look with a helicopter view and at the right stakeholder what happened. I have a very good news for you today. We are in the segment of an industry which is always able to rebound the quickest, okay? COVID hit so many segments of the industry of our life. Catering business for sure, restaurants, they're still suffering. Where are the tourists? If you go Budapest inside city center, they are still struggling. There's not demand of the tourism. What about air cargo? If you look at this slide a bit more detailed, at the end of 2019, you see, we at Air Cargo, we already felt that something is not at the right shape. We didn't know what's going to happen, but we felt that warehouses were not so full, sometimes really empty. So it was something in the air. We didn't expect such serious things to happen, but unfortunately COVID came in. We were the very first air cargo professionals get the touch of something downgoing. But I'm so happy to share that for sure we were the first one immediately come up from the struggling. And it's very important. When I was a child, when I did something wrong, I was always like optimism to go to my father as quick as possible to be over the punishment. I think it's very good because in air cargo, this is what we have. We are the first to feel the bad signs, the bad consequence, but we are always the first to come out. That's the turbulence of the air cargo, of course. Another aspect of looking at the slides, it's very important to differentiate the tonnage moved, and the revenue behind. Tonnage tells, of course, that's how the traffic moves, how the overall. But here in this room, and I believe everybody, at the end of the day, we are living for money. We are living from revenues, generated revenues at the end of the year. And if you consider that maybe a fraction of the tonnage, how much extra revenue, or maybe even more revenue generated for a specific players of the industry, you might not see this graph because the revenues didn't drop. And it was a simple and easy answer on that because of the lack of the capacity, the rates went up to sky high, everybody harvest on the market. That's what COVID delivered for us. As always, every disruption action happening in the world, there's always winners and always losers. Who are the winners of COVID? For sure the freighter operators. Who are the losers, let's say? The full passenger operators. Yes, low-cost airlines, very sorry about that, they are not really involved in air cargo, they're still struggling. Don't you think it's controversial that you hear news that this and this airlines parking aircraft on the ground? Just in Budapest, Lufthansa, unfortunately, having more than 60, close to 70 aircraft stand still for more than 1.5 years. The same is in the deserts. You can name which airline and where parking the passenger aircraft. What happened? You opened another page of the news and you say, even from desert, MD-11s, whatsoever, old aircraft, 747, even 200s, get back to operation, somehow get the capacity back. So winners and losers, and so controversial. Aircraft grounded, aircraft get back. The next slide, please. Also another graph. Sergiu was sharing, I'm so happy that he's challenging as always, that Central Eastern Europe is a bit behind. By the graphs, might be. And again, we shouldn't generalize. József Kossuth is sitting here, who I believe so happy about the last 1.5 years. Because Budapest is really got the point, got the benefit of COVID. Maybe other airports are much behind. For example, let me mention Munich Airport. For sure, a very good example. Typical passenger airport, mainly by the passenger operators. Of course, they lost a lot. They losing were significant. Budapest Airport was very smart to invest in freighter operators, charming, attract more and more freighters, by facilities, of course, building and so on and so on. So winners and losers. It was very good what Michal mentioned about Central Eastern Europe, Western European hubs. That's always the game. That's always a push and pull. That's always. If you consider when there's a capacity constraint, the big guys, you can name whatever, DGF, Panalpina, DSV, and I believe in this room we can name some of them. They're immediately trying to fix their capacity constraint. They buy the space. From where they buy in Benelux, they buy in Germany, Frankfurt, Liège, Amsterdam, whatsoever. And of course, then there's a must for the eastern part of Europe to feed these freighters, to fill up these capacities, because they pay every day, they pay every flight, there's no question. It's a full-year contract. They have to demonstrate. So obviously, that also shows that Central Eastern Europe a little bit behind. And as was also mentioned, I think, József, you mentioned passenger carriers, of course. There was, before COVID, a US national carrier who was already in Budapest, who was already in Prague. They just wanted to go even countryside of Poland. They was planning to fly to Krakow, a US carrier. And of course, these are the stations which unfortunately the first drag back if there's a disruption. So of course, there's no, apart of LOT of course, but there was no any US carrier coming or Canadian carrier coming to the region, neither to Budapest, neither to Czech Republic and so on. So ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to say that you have to always look with a very special glass at what's happening in our industry. And I can tell you that I believe the passenger capacity won't come back in the coming 2-3 years, for sure. So it's still time for the freighter operators, it's still time for the real cargo guys. Freighters, as Michal said, of course, it's a great tool to immediately, to be resilient, to be quick, to adapt to the situation. Yes, what to do otherwise the aircraft? The aircraft have to flown. The aircraft supposed to be at the air, not grounded. The aircraft supposed to make money. And that's also a very good initiative by LOT to do so. Thank you very much.
Can I add something?
Yes.
It's not, of course, the opposite, but by this occasion and on the flow that you mentioned, I'd like to explain why high rates are in the air today. Because a lot of people are asking why the rates are so high. Because normally today the rates are, average rate is at 2.5 times higher than a normal. And I'd like to, ladies and gentlemen, explain why is that. Because in the past, in a normal time, most of the freight were coming on the belly. Means that the cost of the operations were shared between the passengers and the cargo. Because mostly the, let's say, the cost covered passenger operations, the cargo was kind of additional revenue for the airlines. What happened today? There are no passengers or maybe lack of passengers. Means that cargo must pay all the bills. And from my perspective, for example, as my head of sales who's sitting there was doing that even today, the prediction for the next flights to the States and Canada. And he had to calculate and cover full rotation because that was a signal for the passenger revenue. Hey, there is a lack of bookings. We cut or we still keep it in the air. So we said we keep it in the air. That's why we have to cover full rotation. Full rotation is very, very expensive. If you calculate the plane like a 787-9 and will have, I don't know, 85% of the seat factor, means 240 passengers who paid, I don't know, 900 euros or 800 euros. It's plenty of money. When they are not on board, you, ladies and gentlemen, must pay for the rotation, else we are not flying. This is the clear, I'd like to by this occasion explain how it works. This is why rates are so expensive. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I just meanwhile put the slide of Kornél to the behind of, but you can for sure, Sergiu, you can react. So sure.
Thank you. I want to comment on Kornél's intervention, and thanks for contributing to the graphs. Indeed, there's various ways of looking at them, and by no means those graphs were saying that we produce less in Central Eastern Europe. That's not the case. We indeed, you know, if you look at the typical organization in the Central Eastern Europe, they are not the big guys, right? I mean, most of them are local players, medium, small size players, including airlines. Okay, we have the global representation of the freight forwarders. But then all these medium, small-sized guys, they needed to find solutions, right? And they didn't have the tools of the big guys to play with. So it was even more challenging for them to find these solutions. That's one thing. Now, allow me to play the moderator a bit, because there was a controversy in between what you said and what you said. And we were discussing cargo spillage for many years, right? And how important it is to retain this cargo in our own infrastructure. And you touched on that, it's your main strategy as Budapest Airport to retain the cargo and not have it, you know, trucked to Frankfurt or Amsterdam or so on. And you were saying that this pandemic stopped a bit this phenomenon of cargo spillage. You, on the other hand, mentioned that the cargo spillage was intensified. So I'm not having the local reality view. Perhaps you tell us what's the reality there.
Yeah, that's the point. This was prepared by Airbag and Kornél slides showing, how would I say, the most of the cargo. There are small and medium-sized enterprises, but we can say that the majority of the cargo is coming from the big ones. So the big multinational, big local, big domestic companies, automotive, electronics, pharmaceutical, ICT sector, all of these. We know well that these are not all the companies in our region. So even in Hungary, you can put another 100 logo just to one country, but these are the major ones. As Michal mentioned, there is a large potential, something like more than 1.5 million tons air cargo is here in a year. I believe personally, as head of Budapest Airport, that cargo is a very liberal thing. So the cargo always finds the best way. So as Michal mentioned, there are certain companies, logistic companies, who cannot make decisions. They have to send everything to a consolidation hub in Western Europe. Maybe their mind will change slowly. There are some other ones who has freedom to decide whether it is Warsaw, Katowice, Bratislava, Prague, Budapest, Vienna in our region. They have freedom. What I believe that because that's a liberal industry, the freight forwarders are the decision makers, they can make their decisions and they follow the most efficient and the best ways. We have to offer very efficient solutions here, good ones, price-wise, speed-wise, service-wise. I guess these are the three things. How you feel now that, I don't know, maybe Kornél, I can start with you because that's your slide. I'm also touring with a similar one. What do you believe that for example, the locations like Budapest or the others in the region like in Poland, as an airport, for example, or a freighter operator, what they need to be very efficient now? What are the focus points, how a forwarder can decide this is Budapest or Warsaw instead of other gateways in Western Europe? What are the key points? What we need to do for this?
Yeah. First of all, I already mentioned it's all about capacity. And these days we are talking about freighter capacities. If there's no freighter capacity on a certain airport, then there's really no trouble. What you need to do to attract freighter operations? Basically two things. Have the warehouse, have the facility, and have the proper handling. What does it mean, proper handling? Proper handling means quick, first of all, and with adequate quality. It might be not the best, but at least adequate quality. If you look at right now what's happening in Europe, I believe there was not before COVID time mentioned that a Central Eastern European hub could be quicker handler than a Western European one. There is many factors of that, obviously. First of all, the Western European hubs are getting to get stuck, so close to their limits. I'm not saying by fields or by facilities, but sometimes also by terms of human resources. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest issues right now in the Western European hubs are the human resources. Why it takes to get out or offload and to pick up a cargo in the Western European hub 2-3 days. And why it's now in a couple of hours in Central Eastern Europe. Because simply there is no human power. So I believe it's very important to keep up at a reasonable level, to respect the cargo workers, to respect all the handling companies' stuff. Day by day, we are also facing leaving the ground handler companies' stuff. It might be more issues or more aspects of that, but if there's no human people, right now we are not talking about 22nd century's full automated warehouses. It still have to be handled by people. So if we don't have the professional human manpower behind, we can forget about it. Yes, I mentioned facilities. I believe the airports always needs to pre-invest. I can share even at this panel discussion that Budapest Airport did really great job in the last 3-5 years, let's say. I, as an airline representative, as somebody who can see the real movement, the real dynamic of air cargo in the region, I'm already saying that the current capacity is not enough, neither in Budapest. So it's supposed to be already stepped to another level of having more warehouses. We will reach the last slide, which obviously could be a good driver of it. And this is, thank you, József. No question that Budapest Airport and Budapest as a geographical hub is about to get a very competitive to any Western European hub. And here we can talk about even Liège, Amsterdam, whatsoever. Yes, it's a true fact. You can read the newspapers, you can read the articles, that Budapest is, even in the Chinese eyes, it's a very significant, a very important airport and hub getting in Europe. József can tell you the numbers are growing month by month. It's just about to identify the smoothness, the seamless transport, the seamless handling about Budapest Airport and the good distribution point. Budapest is extremely ideal for a hub and spoke system. I just put some of the origin airports, the main, of course, like Shanghai, Chengdu, Chongqing, Beijing, and Hong Kong. Something is missing. I think it was something technical issue, but it was with big capital, of course, BUD, Budapest, it was written. Unfortunately, it's not visible. But obviously I meant Budapest, and it's no question, it's part of the One Belt and One Road initiative by the Chinese government, and we believe that this is the way, if an airport would like to get into this competition, it has to follow somehow what Budapest Airport does. Thank you.
Thank you, Kornél. Definitely, I have to pay a beer for you after, I guess, this presentation, because you made two beers that you want to say.
I can pay the beer to him because I'm going to say something debatable here. You know, we've had these discussions about infrastructure versus bringing capacity for some time, and my personal view is that this is a chicken and egg game. I do not necessarily agree that we need to have the infrastructure there before we attract capacity, freighter or whatever you name it. You can do the other way around. It all depends on vision and strategy. Take LOT, for instance, right? They don't have the proper infrastructure in terms of ground handling in Warsaw. They don't have a cargo city like you do in Budapest, but they still are doing a good job in growing their numbers. So again, it's not necessarily one way or the other. It's about the proactiveness of selling your destination, like in tourism, if you want. That's what you do, I guess, with Budapest Airport, selling you as a hub, and you do that before, you started that before having the current infrastructure, haven't you? So there you go. I mean, it's not necessarily one way or the other.
Yeah, these things can run parallel.
Let me share also my point of view on that, because it is absolutely deeper from my opinion. The question is if everything would be better if infrastructure would be better. As my opinion is not enough. It's the most, let's say, the common answer, always correct, of course. If this is chicken or egg, I was requesting myself all the time, and you know that my outcome after that is, it is not opposite the new. This is my, let's say, opinion. That's definitely. First must be offer. It is not egg or chicken, must be offer prepared to customers who will pay the bills. And infrastructure is one of the part of the game. We have in this room, in this stage, we have a very nice conversation so far, and a very nice combination of the people. Let me share deeper my point of view, how I see, let's say, the cons, pros, and some negative, positive situation. It is Budapest is showing and presenting very good thing, which is not common in our region. I mean, they are showing commercial and a private orientation, which is not common. This is exceptional situation here. They are good because nobody are stopping them, because they see the potential and commercial way want to go follow. Other airports are mostly in the state ownership. What this means? State ownership belongs to politics. What politics they see? They see lack of numbers, small percentage, nothing. We will not invest. No votes, no elections. Forget. This is the problem about this one. To grab more freight and generate more opportunities for economy of our countries, I think that always must go follow community. Infrastructure, proper orientation, customers which want to go follow as well, or interest them. But what I see from my perspective is all of us, we are trying, but separate way, unfortunately, sometimes, not the people around here, but a lot of people from the industry. They are trying separate way, create the part of offer for the country, because this is offer. Access to the global market, boosting with access exactly to sell something, to product something. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget what is flying by the air freight. The most expensive cargo, commodity, most expensive, high-tech, the most, let's say, produced. What it means? The high-educated people, well-paid, are doing something for that. When we still will be a feeder for the Western infrastructure, we never ever catch the gap for the Western Europe. We have to do it in a community. Sorry, that's my point of view. I don't know, maybe I risk so much when somebody from Poland will see that movie, but it is my responsibility. No, I got it on my back.
That's a good point, Michal. Interesting what you said, what Sergiu said, what Kornél said. We are also structuring, that is what we achieved at Budapest Airport. We are very proud of that, but on the other hand we are shy because we know that we have a long way to develop further. We have to do many things in the digitization. We are implementing CEE, pharma in the community approach. We can, as I always say, that we cannot visit enough events in Europe, in China, in the US to advertise these potentials. We are talking about days here, and you will go home and you will know that there are more potentials in this region. There are companies working actively on that, but there are several other companies sitting in China or in the US. They have no clue about this. Even they have no clue that LOT is flying passenger freighters, or there is a Budapest airport. It is not Bucharest in Romania. I don't know, like, let's take this joke, you know, the Budapest-Bucharest mixing. What we do usually that we try to structure a bit our development work. 3 pillars. One is the infrastructure development, for sure. Cargo facilities, runways, taxiways, apron, connecting your facility and your airport cargo center to the road network. Maybe more intermodal in the future. So that's an important thing. Another one, connectivity. As Jens mentioned, as Kornél mentioned, Sergiu mentioned, Michal mentioned, without flights, for sure there is a road feeder, there is truck cargo on the ground, or air trucked on the ground. But without flights, you don't have air cargo. So you need to increase your connectivity. And the third one is a key one, what you mentioned, community. and development of the cargo environment, everything what you can do. I guess that as an airport, we are different from this point of view compared to several other airports. We are going to the market. We talk to shippers, freight forwarders, logistic associations, international, global, authorities. We talk to everybody and we listen to them. We try to adopt what we hear. We try to learn what they say. Not I need to find out the cargo development strategy of Budapest Airport. People are saying this. If I very carefully listen to the words of Michal, Sergiu and Kornél, these are inputs to my work. Gents, how you feel now that we talked about several things and like the infrastructure development, connectivity and the collaboration. Are there other things which are new now for the air cargo and in case of technology development, in case of innovation, in case of digitization, maybe increased focus on pharmaceutical products? Anyhow, it was growing before the COVID, but COVID also increased the focus on that. E-commerce, what do you think that in the near future, in the next 1, 2, 3 years, which are the focus points when we need to be better, invest, and gain more volumes or benefits from the market? Michal, maybe first?
Of course. You know, that's, I always used to say that there are 4 commodities that always fly. They are boosting now as well, but they're 4 which have very limited, let's say, migration to ocean, and the stays in the air are pharmaceuticals, perishables, e-commerce, and aerospace. All other things can migrate to ocean very easy. These 4 always stay in the air. Okay, there is some pharmaceuticals, they are always on the ocean, but a part of them, the most expensive one, they are flying. This is because the short time of delivery, nobody is interesting, of the producer of course, is interesting to produce very high valuable cargo and store during the transit 2 months. No, it's a fast production, fast cash back. So the air freight is producing these 4 commodities. Of course, more temporary fashion, temporary automotive, depends what's going on around. But I'm a big fan of development into that. Pharmaceuticals, definitely. Our region is a full of pharma producing volume. We understood it, thanks to Sergiu, again, because you are responsible for the boost for the pharmaceutical in the region, for all of us. Last thanks, okay? but we, as an airline, we did great results on that. That was absolutely the point of that. Perishables. You know that when I visit the airports, especially in Asia or Miami or this one, I always see perishables. I see the fruits everywhere. There's plenty of them. Amsterdam, you will see not only flowers, the fruits, even cheap ones on our markets. But I never saw kind of commodity in Eastern Europe or Central Eastern Europe. Never. It's peanut, nothing, or almost nothing.
You're too expensive for that.
Too expensive? You know that we started to fly to India a year ago, and can you imagine that a mango, who is a king of fruit, is carried by air? And for example, the Polish apple, I mean about its premium ones, they are more expensive in India than the mango in Poland, which is flying. And I don't understand why is that. Okay, you can keep apple very long time in the container and don't carry that it will be destroying during the transit, but there's still is economy behind, so fast cash back. Nobody understands that. Yeah? Another example, aerospace, especially Romania, Hungary and Poland, with my country on top, of course.
Okay.
But I observe, and I'm a little bit worried, I observe the situation that the new investors are coming, and we have one very nice factory, or MRO exactly, for Pratt & Whitney engines. It is not Pratt & Whitney factory exactly, but the MRO station. For jet engines used to be loaded on Airbus 320. So this is a service for the global fleet of the planes like this. The factory was designed on the 44,000 square meters ground. From the beginning up to the starting of this factory, the supply chain model for that was designed to be fed by the trucks from Germany. I worry about this one, and should we stay focused? Absolutely. We should remember about this one, that we are working, we are trying to catch the gap, but this our, let's say, animal or rabbit that we are running for is not staying. It's not staying. And on this map, we see also, that's interesting because we see the representation of the global supply chain, the typical freight forwarding companies. What I'd like to say by this occasion, on this map, what disappeared on this map? Potential disappeared. All others on the planet, they have it and they use. So I think that this map would be full of colors, but would be black up to the end, with the more potential that we as a cargo community can explore. And to not limit, of course, to these 4, but this 4 is kind of fundamental for the airport infrastructure development. Thank you. I don't want to consume a lot of time because you know that I can talk hours.
Thank you. Sergiu, IATA, development, innovation, how you feel now that we talked about collaboration is important, we know it, that's a key buzzword, keyword for everybody. What you feel now that from technology point of view, innovation point of view, what are the key points which can make the air cargo more sexy in our region? I don't know, more non-consigners, more regulated agents like cargo community systems, digitization, ERVLB, combination with ECMR. So what are the main points now? How you feel?
Thanks for the question. There's a long answer to this question and we don't have much time for it. So we've discussed all these things over and over again.
Catch the top ones.
Yeah, what does collaboration mean after all? Because all of us in the supply chain, well, not IATA, but the partners of the supply chain, they are actually competitors in between them, right? I mean, airlines in between airlines, forwarders in between forwarders. So what is collaboration at the end of the day? What I figure by collaboration is really playing by the standards, playing by the best practices together, so have a unified way of working, being well qualified, so that's training, right? And then all the other aspects, they fall into bits and pieces, like what you mentioned with the security program and not having enough regulated agents, which puts a pressure on the supply chain at a certain point at the airport. It's a fact. We have others, we can name them, but as I said, we don't have the time for that. I would, on the standardization, because you kept on mentioning CIV Pharma, and I'm happy you are happy about it, both of you. So this is a standardization deed, basically, at the end of the day. Michal, actually, I mean, all this CIV Pharma was born because there was a spillage from the air cargo to the ocean for the pharma, and there was a lack of standardization in the business, as we do with many other products, and this is where we stepped in and designed this and implemented this. And just one thing I want to mention here and make a bridge of all those buzz products that indeed these are the ones. So there you have pharma, but there you have e-commerce, and I would like to touch on that. And when you ask me what I see as new, because all these things are not new, we are discussing them for quite some time. What I do see new is something that the e-commerce is triggering. And we are talking here about the first and last mile delivery, right? And not only about executing the service, but also about putting in place the digitalization for that, right? What it means is that the e-commerce buyer he wants to have the visibility, the full tracking. And you know, we are missing this today quite a lot, especially for the last mile. I mean, when you buy something on AliExpress, it gets to your country and then it sits there for like 2 weeks and you don't know what's happening. It's that at the last delivery point and you don't know much further than that, right? So we are missing the tools for the visibility, and we are also missing the right operational tools to do that, because we are mostly talking about delivering into heavily dense global urban areas where it's difficult to employ the legacy delivery companies from the air cargo industry, right? Yeah. So we don't have this particular business model or business partner in the supply chain at this point. We are looking at autonomous like drone deliveries. Okay, it might happen in the future, but we need to address
maybe on the next event you can have a panel just introducing the technology upgrades.
I was discussing yesterday with Michal a very interesting thing that they are doing on the digitization part, trying to embed something additional into the legacy systems that the airlines are using for air cargo, which captures this need, the visibility and incorporating this first mile and last mile delivery into their systems somehow and offer the client visibility. That's something very interesting. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Thank you, Sergiu. I have to stop you because we are over a bit with the time. I will ask Alibaba about your things because they selected Budapest Airport as their second European hub after Liège. So Liège is for Western Europe, Alibaba is for Central and Eastern Europe, and they are already handling some 3 million shipments via our airport, and amazing project. We love this. We worked a lot on this together with customs digitization. By the way, their system is already connected to the Hungarian customs. Also, it is everything, all the customs clearance is digitized. Kornél, a last word on this, that we are overrunning and the organizers will kill us a bit, so I guess. What you think, that just some words, focus points, what e-commerce maybe, or what are your...
Yeah, basically it's about, I believe, we all can be happy because I believe the industry, our segment, is in a very good shape, and it will be in a very good shape, simply because air cargo is always the ultimate, best and most flexible transportation mode. We just have no limits in the air. Okay, if there's a air restriction, then you go a little bit else, but you can always fly from one point to another one. And what I felt that at the beginning of the COVID, that maybe the worldwide consumption is going to go down. People are getting, okay, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need this, I don't need that. And to be honest, after 1.5 years, I feel it's not going to happen. So the consumption and to satisfy people's needs will stay. This is maybe the human beings, what we are created, but it means that it needs deliver shipments, deliver special goods, mangoes from India, as Michal said, or transported. Just yesterday, electrical blankets. I received a request for 1,200 euro pallets. You can imagine, it's a need in China. 1,200 electrical blankets. They need it, we deliver it. Be positive.
Thank you. I caught this. Just a final wrap up to the audience. There are big potentials in Central Eastern Europe in the air cargo, and you have seen there are several very passionate, very enthusiastic companies and experts working on utilizing things. Thanks a lot for everybody. We have to stop or we will be killed, I guess, by the organizer.